whether they fix the polls or not, Trump does a very good job historically of getting the low propensity voters to come out for him. And they're very worried that's going to happen again, and that those college educated white liberals are not going to be able to get her over the top. So as a result, just take a look at what has happened now. This is a montage of some Democrats and never Trumpers. I mean, truly going into meltdown mode with 3 weeks to go, literally to the day as of today.
Donald Trump, anybody who doesn't agree with him is the enemy.
This is not Dukakis versus Bush. That this is not Republican versus Democrat. This is not left versus right. We are talking about the possibility of the return to power of a convicted felon, rapey seditionist who threatens to undo the constitutional order.
There is a coming massive crisis that's going to occur on November 5th with the election, in which even if Kamala Harris wins the election and wins those battleground states, the Trump team is going to declare victory with J.D. Vance at his side.
Focus on what's at stake here. That literally this election is about the Constitution. And we're not going to have one if we lose it.
He, time and again, tried to push the limits in a truly fascist manner.
He is lying. He is lying about migrants. He's lying about crime. His rhetoric is only getting darker and more dangerous.
His rhetoric is getting darker, more dangerous.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that these people have such little self-awareness that they will go on TV and say these types of things. I mean, I know one MSNBC analyst, Elie Mystal, has argued that we should tear up the Constitution altogether. So when I see
crazy.
That network,
he's a crazy lunatic.
Yes, very, very much so. I'm not even a lawyer, and I can tell that from the things that he says. But I mean, these are people who feign concern for the Constitution one day and then say America, which is corrupt at its core, needs to be remade in a more progressive image the next day. So it really is strange to hear them speak this way because, again, as I said, some of these folks are the types of people who think that the American flag itself is a symbol of hate. And they code the American flag as something conservative. So, but all of a sudden they seem to, muster patriotism when it comes to defeating the former president. So I just assume that we're going to get more and more of this up until we get to November 5th. And we'll see whether it'll subside depending on which way the election goes.
Right. You'll see. So Glenn Youngkin of Virginia went on CNN yesterday, and Jake Tapper was raising some of these same Trump quotes, trying to get Youngkin to disavow or comment on, et cetera. Look what happened.
But I'm literally reading his quotes. I'm literally reading his quotes to you, and I played them earlier so you could hear that they were not made up by me. He's literally talking about, quote, radical left lunatics. And then one of those lunatics he mentioned was Congressman Adam Schiff. But I'm talking about Donald Trump saying that he wants to use the National Guard and the military to go after the left. That's what he's saying.
I don't believe that's what he's saying. But listen, you and I are going to argue about that. But I would suggest if you would also...
I played the quote and I read it to you.
If you would also balance
you can wish that he weren't saying that, but that's what he's saying.
Jake, all the time people are taking little snippets of content and turning it into a big narrative. I think exactly what he's concerned about, because I've heard him express it before, are the number of national security risks, violent criminals, and folks who are coming into this country where we don't know where they are, that are committing crimes and put people's safety at risk.
Interesting. So Youngkin is seizing on the other half of Maria's question there, Josh. But, Jake does a sleight of hand there in the way he's, right? It's like you've forgotten that this was all raised in the context of Biden's predicting chaos on Election Day. Maria adds in the fact that we've got these illegals who have done God knows what in this country. And what do you think is going to happen? How would you control it to Trump? And Trump says, I think we're more at threat from the enemies within who are planning on unleashing chaos. And if I need to maintain order, then I will use the National Guard or what I need to use. It's not, literally, you saw how Kamala Harris spun it. I will say this, Youngkin, I like him. I would vote for him in a New York minute, but he's no J.D. Vance.
JD Vance has been absolutely killing it of late, no doubt about that whatsoever on the campaign trail and his interviews. Obviously, he clobbered Tim Walz in that VP debate. But, just one comment there on Glenn Youngkin. So he's totally right to reframe this in the national security, counter-jihadist, counter-terrorist context. I'm not sure that I'm ready to move on, Megyn. I mean, we just had the 1-year commemoration of October 7th last week. I'm not sure that I am ready to move on from what we have seen, for instance, on our campuses, marching down Broadway in New York City, Michigan Avenue in Chicago over the past year. We have seen the unfurling of U.S. recognized foreign terrorist organization flags, the Hezbollah flag on Princeton University's campus, glory to our martyrs projected on the side of a building in George Washington University. I mean, are there not enemies? Are there not enemies within right here on U.S. soil that have gotten here in part due to the horrific open border policies of this administration? There were 8 Tajiki nationals arrested a few months ago with clear ISIS connections. They recently arrested a Pakistani national who was threatening to blow up a Chabad site in New York City. Yes, there were 8 Tajiki nationals.
I don't even know what that is. What's a Tajiki?
It's someone from Tajikistan.
Never heard apparently.
Well, fair enough. But the point is, there are a lot of people here from all of these various countries, many of which end in Stan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, whatever.
Dagestan.
That are here with clear and unambiguous foreign terror connections. And if that is not a domestic enemy within, if the people in Dearborn, Michigan, who are clamoring on the streets, waving the Hezbollah flag and calling Hassan Nasrallah a martyr, which they were literally doing in a clip I saw 2 days ago in Dearborn, Michigan, there was a leading imam, I think the mayor actually might have been there. They were all praising the great martyr Hassan Nasrallah. How else to describe this other than an enemy within? If it gets out of hand, how is the National Guard not appropriate to quash these enemies within if it actually comes to that? So I'm just not buying this faux moral high ground by people like Jake Tapper, who really ought to know better.
Okay, there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election, as you know. But regardless of who is sitting in the White House, the fuse on this volatile economy has already been lit. Even 4 years of a conservative presidency might not be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. But one thing you could consider is to protect your savings by diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife. And it can protect you right now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or a 401k into an IRA in physical gold, tax-free and penalty-free. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the US dollar has declined, and the price of gold has increased 40%. Text MK to 989898 to learn more. They'll send you a free info kit on gold, and you can check it out for yourself. Consider Birch Gold to protect your savings with its A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.